Okay, it's a dismal Friday in the middle of lockdown. I am not at work, and so it's time for some spicy takes on TfL seat coverings, moquettes. I am only doing the ones from like 2010 onwards, the ones that I can find that are currently in use. There is no Crossrail in here because I have not found a working Crossrail train. When Crossrail is completed, maybe then I'll consider it. If a particular moquette you like, or it wasn't as you remember as a kid, well, just fuck off. I'm doing ones that are currently in service. And we'll start with the most common one in service, the S stock. It's used on like the Circle Line, Metropolitan, District, all of those. All the ones with the shiny new trains. It's nice and symmetric. It's black with like a few colours, so it does a good job of hiding dirt. What you can see in the picture, but it does fade very quickly. Like these trains are very new, like a few years old, like maybe 2014. I think the first one started to come in. Yeah, and we are still here, and they are kind of faded. But an overall okay design. Probably like a C tier, I don't know. Emirates Airline. If anyone has been on this, please let me know. I have not found anyone who's paid the extortionate fees, but apparently this is for seat covering. It looks like a regional bus from somewhere that wanted red seats. It doesn't look very interesting. Doesn't look very appealing. Yeah, honestly, hate the Emirates Airlines a concept. Why did TfL sell a cable car? Why do we have a cable car when like the tube exists, or DLR, or literally anything else exists that isn't a fucking cable car that is hideously expensive? Doesn't even give that nice views. I think it was like put up in the kind of Olympic hubris where Stratford was going to become like the new centre of the world, and it very, very much did not. Yeah, that's my Stratford hot take. Victoria Line. Now this one I do quite like. Victoria Line. This one was from about 2007, 2008, and it is very nice. It had been kind of refreshed. It's always been similar to design, but it comes from kind of this mantra TfL had in the 90s of like wanting every tube station tube line rather to have its own seat covering. And the Victoria Line kind of keeps that nice like independent streak. It's very kind of obviously a Victoria Line. I don't have a photo of it in an actual train because it depresses me. They fade very quickly, but it's a really good design. I really fucking like it. I don't know, maybe like an S tier. Again, rankings will be decided at the end because I honestly don't have a functional brain. Barman. So this is like the S stock's poorer cousin. Whereas the S stock's used on like all the nice lines with the new trains, Barman's used on a lot of old lines with shitty trains. So the Northern Line uses it. Bakerloo Line uses a spicy version that we'll come on to. The Central Line now uses it, which is a shame because the 90s Central Line covers had some interesting properties, but broadly, quite a lot of depressing tube lines still kind of use it. The Jubilee Line uses it, and that's kind of the only exception. Jubilee Line having nice new stations and being vaguely quick. The rest of them fairly depressing, but it's very clearly London. It's very clearly a tube design. And it does have quite nice looking priority seat little cutouts for it, which is always positive. But generally, it's just kind of average. It's London. It's a nice tube seat covering, but it's just not feeling it. It's on a load of shit lines that go to shit places, and broadly are shit trains. And this one is potentially one of my least favourites. It's the Spicy Barman. It's on the Bakerloo line. I couldn't be bothered to find an original moquette. I just put a sepia filter on the old one. You can see it's just the Barman, but in brown, because they thought we're going to make the Bakerloo line different. It's a brown line. We love the colour brown. Brown, I cannot emphasize, there are brown poles on the train. There are brown tiles in the station. And it is a brown seat covering. It is clearly worse than the one before it because it is not only derivative but has made it a lot worse. Like brown. Just brown. The Overground. Now this one, you wouldn't believe it because it looks like it was taken out of like some kind of 80s kind of, I don't know, VHS film or like a teletext kind of thing. But it's the one that's currently in use on a lot of Overground trains. Do like it. It's got nice colours. It's black, so dirt doesn't show up easily. Yeah, I broadly I think it's a really fucking good seat covering. The Overground goes to nice places as well. Lots of places that the tube was too important to go to. And on the Overground for a lot of time, like routes aren't quick. When I used to go out to Croydon via like Shadwell to West Croydon, that was a long trek. That was like 45, 50 minutes, and you got these nice seat coverings to look at. I mean, and actually do other train stuff, but also look at seat coverings. Trams, again from my experience in Croydon, these are ones on Croydon trams. I think they're pretty much all the same. I like them. I think trams are cool. It's kind of whimsical to still have like these kind of relics of 1920s London just pootling around in South London. And the seat coverings reflect that. They're happy, they're green. They've got dark colouring again so dirt doesn't show up too easily. Broadly, really solid. I don't know, maybe like an A tier. I've fully given up with tiering at this point. And then we come to this monstrosity. The Piccadilly Line. This is the one that is still in use. This photo is actually, as far as I can tell, recent. I think it's from about 2018. I found it on the back of my phone, to be honest. So, I don't know. It's a seat covering, isn't it? But it's got that just regional bus service vibe. And that kind of regional bus service vibe really, really comes out in that. Just the bright colours, the weird geometric shapes. And annoyingly, as you can see from all these seats, the coverings are very old and very clearly, because it's not a black backing, it's like a light blue backing with like weird... Is that called tortoiseshell? I'm not a textiles person. I think a weird blue tortoiseshell-y thing. It's faded, and it's faded quite badly, and it just looks dusty, it looks dirty. Piccadilly Line's always full of tourists, so broadly from like line vibes, it's not great. The DLR, now this one I like. It's very, very simple. It does have a regional bus feel. Like, I'm not going to deny it does have a regional bus feel. But the DLR goes to nice places. It's automated, which sucks for labour laws, but also is like really like and labour rights. But also it's fun. Nice electronic automated trains. They still add guards, so the unions don't get too shafted on them. I don't think. Who knows? And much like every photo I have of DLR, the displays are slightly broken. You can see like this kind of screen tearing as the text goes. It's a real kind of early 2000s vibe. Very much here for it. Very much enjoying it. Yeah, I know. A or B tier, probably. Waterloo City is... aesthetically, this is not the worst design. How it's very, very reminiscent of like the 90s Central Line kind of thing. The Central Line was like that, but in like red and blue. And the Central Line went to places people live and actually spend their lives, and is not a monument to capitalism's hubris, where you need a 2-stop tube line to get all your fancy smancy bankers in their 1980s big suits with noses stuffed full of cocaine as quickly into Bank Station as possible. It's a very kind of... It's just hubris, this design. Like the existence of Waterloo City is fully borne out in this seat design, and I cannot fucking stand it. Like just Waterloo City as a tube thing, it doesn't move people that quickly. It doesn't go anywhere that anyone actually works anymore. It was great in the 80s, I'm sure, but tear it down. Tear it down and spend the money on literally anything else. Expand the Overground, push more DLR out further east. I don't fucking know. Do literally anything. Pay for more buses. A notable omission here on my part is like Route Master seat coverings from this video. I have more complicated feelings about bus seat coverings than I can be bothered to go into this morning, quite frankly. But Waterloo City designs suck. Waterloo City line as a whole fucking sucks, and honestly, for a shit fucking line, this is a not bad design, but it does just bear that kind of bourgeois decadence, the same kind of decadence that leads someone who's working from home to make a video about moquettes, I'm sure. But yeah, here are the final rankings. There's probably spelling mistakes, but Piccadilly Line, as much as it fades, it just has just a pure 90s like energy. It's just so like wholesome. It doesn't care that it's dusty. It doesn't care that it's full of shit geometric shapes and looks outdated. It's there and it's proud. Victoria Line I really enjoy for a whole lot of reasons, but mostly it harks back to a time when TfL had like original tube designs for each line, and it's kind of drifting back towards that. Unfortunately, it's drifting towards that with things like Crossrail, which I don't enjoy, and I also If I'd have put Crossrail's design on there, it's like the Overground design but purple. Not a fan, to be honest. But they are sort of drifting back towards each tube line having its own kind of seat covering, which I do like. Gives kind of a unique character to things. A-tier trams and the Overground, mostly for like good memories for me, and the fact they serve like sort of under transited areas of London, places like South London, places like out in the sticks where like the tube doesn't go to, things that aren't Zone 1. B tier is the S stock. I think it's a really good standard design. I don't really like that it's shared by like one, two, I don't know, like three, four lines, three lines. And the DLR, I like. It's kind of happy. It's a regional bus kind of vibe in the same way Piccadilly is, but it doesn't have that kind of happy energy that Piccadilly does have. CT is the Barman. It's blue. I don't like the lines that Barman's on. DT is Spicy Barman. It's just brown. It's just fucking brown. And then right down at the bottom, monuments to the hubris of man are the Emirates Airline, which shouldn't exist. Like fundamentally should not have been built in 2012. I don't know who they thought they were going to transport on it. Clearly no one. I think it probably has like the lowest ridership of like any London boondoggle. Except maybe those like weird rickshaws you see on the cycle superhighways. But yeah, definitely like the lowest ridership transport option. And the Waterloo and City line is just like transporting like bank middle managers from the 1980s who both need to trade stonks but also need to go out to their lovely Kent suburban home. Like, it's just not great. Just not great vibes. Yeah, that's my like effort post for this morning. Moquette seat coverings. Enjoy, nerds.